She was on the porch, barefoot, just watering the roses. I heard the shouting before I saw them. 2 HOA enforcers vests on, radios clipped to their collars, were storming up the driveway like they were serving a warrant. One of them pointed at her like she was a trespasser. "You're in violation. Step away from the property." Sarah turned, confused. "What are you talking about? This is my house." It didn't stop. The taller one grabbed the hose from her hand, water spraying across the concrete, and shoved her back against the railing. She gasped, steadying herself with one hand, her other going instinctively to her stomach, still sore from last month's. Surgery. I was in the garage. By the time I reached the porch, they were already pulling out their phones like they were about to call someone, record a threat, but I didn't yell. I didn't even raise my voice. I just stepped between them. "And her!" "Leave," I said. Flat. Controlled. They laughed. One actually stepped closer. "Who do you think you are?" he sneered. "This is HOA business." She was interfering with. I showed him, not a gun, not fists, just the ID. Navy SEAL, retired. And a second card, county-level tactical consultant. Authorized for federal state response. The shorter one blinked. "You're bluffing." "I wish I was." Sarah, still shaken, whispered behind me. They said, "We weren't on the registry. That the house was flagged." Flagged. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about watering flowers. Someone had altered the records, or deleted them, which meant this was planned. And it wasn't just a mistake. It was a hit. One they were going to pay for. I didn't let them leave. As they started backing away, muttering something about miscommunication, I said, "Sit down on the steps." They froze. I said, "Sit." It wasn't a suggestion. Years of training made my tone carry weight in. They felt it. Both dropped to the porch steps, like school kids caught stealing. I walked over to Sarah and helped her inside. Her hands were trembling. She didn't want to make a scene. She never did. But this wasn't just harassment. This was personal. And they picked the wrong house to mess with. Back outside, I called Maddox. He picked up on the first ring. "We got an incident. HOA enforcers just put hands on Sarah, claimed our property was delisted." Dead silence. Then, "Where?"
"Here."
"My house. Sending someone. No questions. No delay." That's why I trusted him. While we waited, I decided to ask the 2 enforcers some very simple questions. "Who told you to come here today?" The tall one hesitated. The short one blurted, "Karen. She said you were illegally occupying the unit. That it was reassigned by board vote last week." "Karen," I repeated. "Acting president," he corrected. There it was. The name. The same woman who'd left 3 warnings. On our door this month, each one more ridiculous than the last one about paint color, one about fence height, and the last one threatening removal of assets if we didn't comply. Maddox's people arrived fast. 3 black SUVs. No lights, no sirens, just quiet presence and wait. One of them stepped out, nodded to me, and said, "We're here to collect statements. But we've already pulled security footage from your cameras. Whole thing's logged." The taller enforcer stood up, panicked. "Wait, we didn't know," she told us. "She said you guys moved out." I turned to him. "You touched my wife." The panic turned to pleading. "We didn't hurt her." She was yelling. "We thought she was a squatter." I didn't say anything, because I knew what was coming next. The SUVs weren't just here to take notes. They were here to trace the order. It's back to Karen. And that meant one thing. She was about to get exposed in the worst possible way. Karen didn't answer her door. Not the first time. Not the second. But on the 3rd knock from a man in a plain gray suit with a county seal on his lapel. She peeked through the blinds and tried to wave it off. He didn't wave back. Instead, he said, loud enough for the whole block to hear, "You're being summoned to appear for an emergency board review regarding misuse of authority and unlawful enforcement action." That got her attention. The door creaked open. She stepped out. Smug as ever, with her little clipboard in hand and that same rehearsed smile, she used at every HOA meeting. "There must be some mistake," she said. "I'm just enforcing community standards." "That family wasn't even listed on you altered registry data." The man cut her off. "We already pulled the digital logs." Her mouth stayed open, but no sound came out. Another SUV rolled up, this one with the sheriff himself. Not a deputy, the man in charge. He stepped out slowly, adjusted his belt, and walked straight toward her. "I just got off the phone with a federal liaison," he said. "Turns out this property was transferred under the Homeland Resettlement Act. That's why it wasn't in your system." Karen blinked. "What? ... What's that mean?" "Means the land doesn't fall under your jurisdiction. It's federally designated. And interfering with it is a violation of Title 18. "You can't be serious," she scoffed. "They don't even look like..." "Like what?" The sheriff cut in, voice sharp. "It's like people you get to harass, like families that don't deserve peace." Karen took a step back. "Your fake citations? It's the unauthorized entry? Sending enforcers to use force on a private citizen? You just crossed into felony territory?" I was watching from a distance. Sarah was beside me now, calm but pale. Leaned into me slightly and said, "Do you think she actually believed she was in the right?" "No," I said. "She believed no one would stop her. But someone just did, and that wasn't even the real twist. Because what none of them knew, not Karen, not her enforcers, not even the board yet, was that Maddox had something else. A whistleblower. Someone inside the HOA. And the files he gave us. They would blow this entire operation wide open." That night, Maddox showed up at my place, no SUV, no team, just him and a battered leather folder under his arm. He handed it to me without a word. Inside were printed emails, bank statements, and an access log entries with Karen's name all over them. Time-stamped records showing unauthorized changes to resident status, vote overrides, and something worse, payment trails. "She's been accepting private funds," Maddox said, "from a development firm, Horizon Equity Group." Looked up sharply. "That's the company trying to buy the East Side lots." Nodded. "And they're paying her to make those lots ... vacant." A beat passed. "She's clearing people out," I said slowly. "Faking violations, deleting ownership, getting her enforcers to pressure families out. So the land drops in. Value." Maddox didn't blink. "She started 6 months ago. You're number 14. 14 families harassed, threatened, or removed. We only notice now." I felt the burn rising in my chest. Sarah, sitting across the room, just whispered, "And I thought the roses were the problem." Maddox leaned forward. "Here's what I need from you." I knew it was coming. "You're the only one with the clearance, the record, and the credibility to go on camera. The board's having an emergency review hearing tomorrow, but we want her gone legally, fully exposed." This he tapped the folder. "This will get her removed, but your testimony will bury her." I stared at the pages again. Karen wasn't just a petty tyrant with a clipboard. She was running a hostile takedown operation under the cover of community rules, and now she was going to face the one thing she couldn't control, the truth. In front of every resident she'd lead to. "You'll speak?" Maddox asked. I stood up and walked to the window. Outside, 2 kids from the neighbor's house were riding bikes up and down the sidewalk. Free, safe, happy. She put her hands on my wife. I said, "I'll do more than speak." The HOA Community Center was packed. Rows of chairs filled with neighbors, some I hadn't seen in years. Others who had waved awkwardly just weeks ago, while Karen's notices piled up on their doors too. They weren't here for a meeting. They were here for a reckoning. Karen sat at the front, still trying to keep up appearances. Pastel blazer. Fresh lipstick. She even brought cookies. But her smile cracked the moment I stepped in. The board president, Trial One. Recently reinstated after Maddox dug up how Karen had ousted him, illegally tapped the mic. "We're calling this emergency session under Article 4.6, Abuse of Authority and Falsification of Documents. Mr. Walker, please proceed." I didn't look at Karen. I looked at the people. "My name is James Walker. I've lived on Ridgepine Drive for 7 years. I'm a retired SEAL, federally cleared tactical consultant, and apparently..." Mactuade, not welcome in my own home according to this woman. I nodded toward her, but still didn't meet her eyes. There were murmurs, cameras out, people whispering. Continued last week. 2 HOA enforcers showed up at my property and physically shoved my wife, who was doing nothing but watering her roses. They claimed we weren't residents, claimed our property was flagged. Karen told them to do it. Karen shot up. That's a lie. I raised a hand. Calm/controlled. I have the security footage. I have the altered registry logs. And thanks. 2 Maddox and a whistleblower inside this board. I have financial records showing this woman accepted payment to erase legal owners from this community. Gasps. Real ones. Someone in the back actually stood up and yelled, "That's why they tried to tow my truck." I opened the folder and laid it on the table. 14 families, all pressured, all targeted, all tied to land Horizon Equity wanted to purchase. Kieran's face had gone white, but it wasn't over yet. The sheriff walked in. Right on cue. "This isn't just an HOA matter anymore," he said, holding up a warrant. "Kieran Reynolds, you're under investigation for fraud. Conspiracy to commit real estate manipulation and impersonating a public official." Her knees gave out. Literally, she collapsed into the chair, grabbing the table as if it could save her. It couldn't. I looked around the room. This time everyone was staring at me differently. Not as a threat, but as the one who stood when no one else could. And this was just the beginning.